Benjamin Ghoststep hollow. The workshop smelled of ozone and regret. Not my regret precisely. More like the regret of electrons forced into unnatural configurations. Benjamin Hollow, though most called me Ghoststep, a nickname earned from a youthful, ill-advised fascination with theoretical physics and a tendency to disappear into my work, preferred the quiet hum of the temporal displacement unit. It was comfortable, predictable. A collection of brass gears, vacuum tubes, and repurposed clockwork, all meticulously arranged on a workbench littered with schematics and half-eaten biscuits. I wasn't chasing glory, you see. Just refinement, fine-tuning the subtle dance of causality. It was, undeniably, a life of comfortable obsession. But comfort, like a perfectly calibrated chronometer, can become limiting. I didn't need anything. I had a roof, biscuits, and the universe to unravel at my own pace. But I wanted proof. Not of the machine's functionality. I'd proven that to myself years ago. I wanted to see my grandfather again. Old man Tiber, a clockmaker himself, who'd filled my head with stories of gears and time, a man I hadn't truly appreciated until he was gone. A single conversation, that's all I desired. A chance to tell him I understood, that the ticking wasn't just noise but a language. The destination wasn't a grand historical event, no attempt to alter the course of nations. Just a small bakery in Jakarta, 1978, a humid Tuesday afternoon. It felt wrong, stepping out of the shimmering distortion field and into a world saturated with color and sound I hadn't experienced directly in decades. The air tasted of clove cigarettes and exhaust fumes. People brushed past me, their faces blurred with a disconcerting lack of focus. It wasn't the past I remembered, but a heightened, almost hallucinatory version of it. I'd accounted for temporal drift, of course, but the sensation was far more visceral than any calculation could predict. It felt less like observing the past, and more like being digested by it. Adapting meant becoming a ghost, a shadow. My tailored suit felt outrageously conspicuous. I traded it for a faded batik shirt and sandals, mimicking the locals. I learned to navigate the chaotic traffic, to haggle for street food, to blend into the throng. The disorientation never fully subsided, but I forced myself to observe, to analyze, to become a temporary resident of this past. The bakery was exactly as I'd imagined it. Small, fragrant with cinnamon, and crowded with chattering customers. My grandfather, younger and sturdier than I remembered, was meticulously arranging pastries in the window. It was unnervingly real. I spent days just watching him, absorbing the details, calibrating my approach. The conversation was perfect. A few simple words, a shared laugh, a fleeting moment of connection. He didn't seem to notice anything amiss, just the warm affection of a grandson visiting after a long absence. I told him I understood the language of clocks, the rhythm of time. He smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile. It was everything I'd hoped for. I returned to my time, euphoric, convinced I'd achieved a small miracle. The machine hummed contentedly, as if sharing in my triumph. I'd proven it could be done. I'd healed a small rift in my past. It felt complete. The completion, however, was a cruel illusion. Days later, a strange lethargy began to creep over me. A gradual fading, not of memory, but of being. My hands trembled. Colors seemed muted. Then I noticed the subtle distortions in my workshop. The objects shimmering and shifting as if existing in multiple realities simultaneously. The machine hadn't just plucked me from my present. It had begun to unravel my connection to it. Each moment spent in the past had cost me a fragment of my present. The conversation hadn't healed a rift. It had opened a wound in the fabric of my own existence. Old man Tiber had, unknowingly, stolen years of my life in return for a simple moment. Years I would never have back. The machine demanded a price, and the price was me. I returned to my workshop, a shell of my former self. The comfortable clutter now felt oppressive, suffocating. The biscuits tasted like ash. The machine, once a source of fascination, now loomed like a monstrous judge. I spent weeks dismantling it, meticulously cataloging each component, each wire, each gear. Not to rebuild it, but to understand the terrible elegance of its destructive power. The workshop, once a sanctuary, now felt like a prison. I was back in my familiar situation, but irrevocably changed, haunted by the ghost of a conversation and the fading echo of a life. The ticking of clocks no longer soothes me. It mocks me. I still tinker with mechanisms, but now it's not driven by curiosity, but by a desperate need to understand the limits of control. I've become a collector of broken things, fragments of forgotten moments, haunted by the knowledge that even the smallest alteration to the past can have catastrophic consequences. I am Benjamin Hollow, the Ghoststep, but the name now feels like a curse, a reminder of the ephemeral nature of time and the terrible price of chasing ghosts. I am a prisoner of my own invention, forever bound to the ticking clock, a fading echo in the vast expanse of time.